conversation. There's going to be a video clip we're going to watch, and we'll do it in maybe 5-minute or 10-minute increments. It's only 40 minutes long, so we should be able to get through the whole video. And then as the believers have questions, feel free to raise your hand as always. And then for those who have not heard one of the wins, I know Sister Raynell, I don't think you heard this story before. Sister Raynell, did you hear the story about what Sister Patricia was able to do using the auditing?
With Miss Crystal?
Oh, well, you heard it then. You've heard it. That's right. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You've already heard the story then. That's why she was given the name by Brother Scott, Mary Jesus.
Praise be to Allah.
So let me see if I did this right. Let me see if I can pull up. Okay, good. I did do it right. Okay, let me share my screen. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let me see if I can get this out the way. That's funny. There we go. Okay, so we're watching in increments, and as soon as you have your questions, by all means, raise your hand.
Assalamu alaikum. In the name of Allah, the beneficent and merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. I greet you with the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum. So, my name is Brother Remy Arek Bishola. So, I am doing this breakdown or analysis or commentary on an essay on power. So, when I was talking to one of my clients, she was giving me a breakdown of what is going on with her team. So it reminded me of this essay that L. Ron Hubbard did on power. It comes from a book called, let me share my screen so you can see it. It comes from a book called Introduction to Scientology Ethics. And Scientology means knowing how to know, the study of the spirit and things that have to do with developing that spirit and techniques on how to handle barriers that prevent you from growing spiritually. And ethics means the systematic knowledge and application of knowledge that a person does to bring themselves back on the right course. So it comes from the book called Introduction to Scientology Ethics. The section is called Responsibility of Leaders, and the particular essay is called Essay on Power. So when she was explaining the situation, it made me think about this essay. So I wanted to go into the essay and do some commentaries and analysis and just bring it to life, and this video is for her so she can use this in her practice. At the same time, I love feedback. I love to grow in examples. I love to grow in what we've been given from the Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So whatever you know of the teachings, that would be a good segue for me, or for me to delve into, whether it's for or against information that I'm bringing, or it helps expound information, or you want to bear witness, please send it to me. My email address is REMIAREGBESOLA@yahoo.com. It's Remy Arek Bishola at yahoo.com. Also, if you wanted to get this book, hit me up. You can go to the website, Scientology website, to purchase the book. Very good book. And so I'm going to dwell straight into it. So there were 7 points. There's 7 points that I brought up towards the end of the essay on power. And I was told to reread this and restudy this because of a situation that I was dealing with work that I was engaged in. And when you're working as a junior to somebody in power, or you consider yourself a source of power, there's some things that you need to keep in mind. This is what L. Ron Hubbard is explaining. So I wanted to share that with you because this was part of my handling. So I can understand how to handle power better. So I can understand how to handle people in power, right? As you grow in life, especially me as a consultant, I want to help people run their business better. I want to help people run their organization better and run their lives better. So as a consultant, and you come across people that are in very powerful positions, or they consider themselves in a very powerful position, you want to understand how to handle them, how to help them, and not become a victim of circumstances and situations, but you want to be as wise as a serpent, right? And as graceful as the dove. So let me get straight up into it. So he says here, man is too aberrated to understand at least 7 things about power. So aberrated means departure from rational course of action, departure from rational thought. And power is a force that increases influence. The etymology of power means ability. So anything that increases your ability, somebody that has a lot of ability, somebody that has a lot of influence. So that is what is meant by man is too aberrated to understand at least 7 things about power. He's not talking about electricity. He's talking about people that have a lot of ability, or they have a particular ability and they can use it in a very great way. Okay. Or he's talking about people who have a lot of influence, in a certain area or activity. So man is too aberrated to understand at least 7 things about power. 1, life is lived by lots of people. And if you lead, you must either let them get on with it or lead them on with it actively. Now, sometimes you have people that are in a position of power and they may be distracted. They may have other things going on with their family over a duration of time. Whatever is long, sometimes the definition of long duration can be different from person to person. But if you're elected or selected or anointed or put in a position of power, you either let the group go with the flow, do the things that they're going to do, or you actively lead them on with it. If you have your attention more on stopping, well, this proposal comes, stop, and you don't do that, and you don't do that, and you don't do that. You over there don't do that. If you're stopping the group from doing the things that they feel that they need to do, right? And you're not leading them on with it actively, you will fall from that power. So this is what he's saying. This is one of the laws. So you either sit back in your station and let them get on with the show, or you actively lead them with it. Because if you don't, and you just sit down and you stop them, and you just dictating and just telling them how many different ways you can explain not to do things, then you're going to violate a law of power, and it's going to make the situation worse for the activity, maybe the activity, but definitely you. All right, 2, when the game or the show is over, there must be a new game or a new show. And if there isn't, somebody else is jolly well going to start one. If you won't let anyone do it, the game will become, quote unquote, getting you. So jolly means very well, like very well to a high degree. You definitely, once something is accomplished, once a goal has been hit, you better create a new goal. You better create something that they can go after, because if you look back at one, right, if you're not going to let them get on with whatever goal they want to go for, and if you're not going to actively lead them with it, but you won't let anyone go on with the show, you won't let anyone come after you and lead, they're going to be getting you. They're going to come to get you. And depending on the type of group that you're in, you can get fired, you may get killed, you may get harmed, your reputation may be tarnished. So you definitely want to be a leader that either delegates and let people get on with the show, or do your best to actively lead them. So 1 and 2 seems to build off each other. 3, if you have power, use it or delegate it, or you sure won't have it long. See, 3 is building off of 2 and 1. So you can see how he's addressing this in gradings and steps. Grading it meaning steps. So now you have power, you must be cognizant of, I either have to create new goals for them to go after, I have to actively lead them with the goals, and I need to delegate if I'm unable to handle certain activities. Because if you're not delegating and you're not actively leading them, and you're not actively getting them goals, you're going to be busy trying to defend your station of power. You're gonna be overwhelmed. You're gonna probably feel like people are out to get you. People are out to get me. They're already bringing me this. They're bringing me this hostility. They're bringing me this BS. They're not listening. Won't they just X, Y, and Z? You're going to be overwhelmed because you're not actively leading them. You're not delegating the power. You're not creating new goals. 4, when you have people, use them, or they will soon become most unhappy, and you won't have them anymore. So if you have people around you, you have to find out their gifts. This goes back to leadership. This goes back to how the minister brings out the best in us, and how the minister is patient with us, right? And employs us. Some of these things that I may not remember directly in the lecture, but when I see his actions, I'm reading the words on the page, but pictures of him is coming to mind, you know, and that's very powerful for me to read words, then pictures of him coming to mind and examples coming to mind, so I can reference that example and say, okay, I have some reality on it. That's something that I have, that I can touch and almost smell. So you want to tap into people and find out what they do, and guide them in doing it, and have them doing it, because they're going to be unhappy. If they signed up for your cause and you have them on standby for so long, they're going to become unhappy. And because of our condition, because we have the reactive mind, because we have devils in us, 7 devils at least per person, people are going to feel the inactivity and lack of applying the mental faculty that God gave them. They're going to fill it in with negativity. It's just natural. It's just going to come out, right? And they're going to leave and start this activity. They're going to go into that activity. So you want to be in tune with your group. You want to understand that people are being used properly in a manner that gets them progress. Because if you don't use them at all, right? Let's talk about 2, 3, 3, 2, and 1. You don't use them at all. You're not delegating. You're not trying to bring the best out of them. You're not employing them. You're not giving them assignments and tasks to constantly do. They will become happy, and you won't have them. And you look around and you're like, well, I guess they're not with it. I guess they're not strong. Excuse me, let me get some water. I guess they're not strong. Well, that may be the case. But who can be strong enough to tolerate, to be in a group, an organization, in a company, not being used to your potential, okay, not receiving any orders, and when orders get done, you're not getting new orders, and when you're presenting things to do, you're getting stopped, right? So that will make people unhappy. Okay, 5. When you move off a point of power, pay all your obligations on the nail. So 5 now, he's talking about transition. Somebody in power transitioning to a point where they're no longer in power, right? They're like retiring, so to speak, or turning over their hat to someone else. Okay. 5, when you move off a point of power, pay all your obligations on the nail. Empower all your friends completely and move off with your pockets full of artillery, like weapons, potential blackmail on every erstwhile rival, like every, old rival, right? Erstwhile, previous. Potential blackmail on every erstwhile rival, unlimited funds in your private account, and the addresses of experienced assassins, and go live in Bulgaria and bribe the police. Now, let me back up. I should have said this in the beginning. The essay on the power is about 2 powerful individuals, Simon Bolivar and Manuel Saenz, or Saenz, S-A-E-N-Z. Manuela and Bolivar, they rose to considerable heights in Cuba, but they ended up in the gutter. So what Aaron Hubbard did was he read this book and he said that I'm going to reference this book and I'm going to analyze their rise and their fall and their destruction, and bring out some things that I've noticed about power from my experience being in the Navy, plus the experience that he's reading about these 2 brilliant people's lives that we should understand about power. Okay, so in number 5, he's talking about moving away from power. So when you move off a point of power, pay all your obligations on the nail, empower all your friends completely, move off with your pockets full of artillery, potential blackmail on every erstwhile rival, unlimited funds in your private account and the address of experienced assassins, and go live in Bulgaria and bribe the police. And even then, you may not live long if you retain one scrap of domination in any camp you do not now control, or even if you say, I favor politician jigs, for example. Abandoning power utterly is dangerous indeed. So he says all of that to say the point is abandoning power utterly is dangerous indeed. So even when you move off from a position of power, you don't want to owe anybody, but you want to have people owe you. So for example, I know this may come off negative, like, man, blackmail and artillery and this and that. So we use knowledge that we get for righteousness. We're not trying to do in our brothers, our sisters. You're not trying to do in your business partner. You're not trying to do in your employees, but you want to plant seeds in people where you've established a connection with them. So even when you move out of power, you still have that relationship. Okay? Because there are situations that I've seen in my few years of living that you can move off of power and then people tarnish your name. People scrap the legacy that you built. They come on and they do something totally different. And it may be for the best, but besides the point, if you do not abandon power utterly, you won't face that repercussion. So still develop, have a relationship, okay? Have a relationship. Doesn't mean that still have influence and be influencing from the silence. Let's see what he says going forward. But we can't all be leaders or figures strutting in the limelight. And so there's more to know about this. So he's talking about power. So when you're moving off of power, you want to have a relationship, okay? Because there's situations can blow back on you, even though you're not in a position. So you want to have a relationship so you can make sure that when negativity comes, you can handle it. But you do not, what he's saying is, you do not want to hold on to domination. He says, one scrap of domination in any camp, one scrap of domination. So if you're still pressing buttons, but you're not really in a position of authority, he's saying that that's a law that you're going to violate and something negative is going to happen. You probably know about these situations. You probably understood these situations when someone is having influence, pressing buttons behind somebody else, and it blows back on them, okay? 6, when you're close to power, get some delegated to you. So those who striving to be examples of their leader, who's striving to help their leader, so striving to help their spiritual father, striving to help the CEO of their company. When you're close to power, get some delegated to you. You have to go through that process. You have to be courageous enough. You have to communicate to get enough power delegated to you, enough to do your job and protect yourself and your interests. Or you can be shot, fellow, like saying, man, you can be shot, man. You can be shot, fellow, shot, as the position near power is delicious, but dangerous. So some people can't come after your manager. Some people can't come after the CEO. Some people can't come after the minister, but they're going to come after you because you are close to power. So you want to make sure that you have your assignment, right? You have an assignment. You're given protection. Okay, I have authority in this area, right? If things go wrong, you know what to do. You know how to report it. You know how to handle it, right? Interest, okay, I need to be working with that person as well. So they should know that I'm assigned to this. Things that you're interested in, or they say in law, interested parties, right? So who else are you working with? Do they know that you've been delegated to do such? Okay, are you protecting yourself? Because if you're working towards power, you're just going off and doing something and no power is delegated to you, it's going to be difficult for you to protect yourself. It's going to be more difficult for you to protect your interests. And because if people see you as a threat and you going off doing your own thing, but you don't have that power delegated to you, you don't have a reference, a lecture, a study guide, a policy to go off of saying that you're allowed to do X, Y, and Z, you can be shot. And even though you have this, people still may take shots at you because you're close to power. So to prevent this law, to obey this law, you want to make sure that you have an assignment, you have authority in your assignment, people that you're working with understand what you're able to do. So when you get shot, you can probably move like Neo in the Matrix, right? And dodge it. Okay. So the position there of power is delicious, but dangerous. Dangerous always. Open to taunts of an enemy of the power who dare not really boot the power, but can boot you. Some people that you're working with may not be outside of the organization, but they can remove you from a station of your assignment, but they really mad at your boss. They really mad at your supervisor. They really mad at somebody else in authority, but they coming after you. Because maybe they see that you really don't have authority. Maybe they see that you wasn't delegated. Maybe you didn't let people know, because sometimes when you have that authority delegating, you let people know, oh, my name is Brother Remy, I'm in charge of this. Or my name is Supervisor Joe, I'm in charge of this. Sometimes they will be hesitant before they pull out. They be like, man, I really want to get Joe supervisor. I'm gonna get Joe, but nah, see, everybody's looking at Joe. Everybody's watching Joe. Everybody knows that Joe's supervisor gave him that authority. So I have to watch it. It reminds me of the advice the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan was given about staying out in the spotlight while the minister was rebuilding and influencing and going more and more power. He had the authority, but he had to stay out in the spotlight because people can't box with God. They can't get the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, so they're gonna try to get the minister. Okay? But he had that power delegated to him. He brought up the testimony. He brought up the witnesses. He shows in his work. He went out and made friends so he can protect the interest of Allah, the interest of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, right? So now it's harder to shoot. You see? So we reflect on that when you have an opportunity. So to live at all in the shadow or employ of a power. Employee means you're employed by. So to live at all in the shadow, because some of us with power want to live in the shadow, be like, man, I'm not even trying to deal with that. You know what I mean? You deal with that. I don't got enough patience to deal with that. Okay? So if you want to live in the shadow and just be like, I'm just going to be your secret agent. You know, I'm not going to be out there helping you, but I'm just going to be like low-key helping you. He's saying this applies to you too. So to live at all in the shadow or the employ of a power, you must yourself gather and use enough power to hold your own. You know, are you applying the disciplinary, the teachings, the technology? Are you applying it, which gives you power? You know, in this day, the restrictive law of Islam will sustain you. The ethics, the mores, the policies, the procedures. When you're in a group that is doing great, that has come and to do a universal work, or a company that has a product or service that will make people's lives better. Are you gathering enough power yourself and use enough power to hold your own? Okay? Without, he's explaining further. These two dashes means is adding on to that point. Without just nattering to the power to kill people. So something negative happens. Oh man, we got to go over there. Hey, look, supervisor, you see what they doing wrong? You need to hold your own. That's your post. That's a nuisance. So you need to have enough knowledge, power within yourself, and power in your position, your post, to be able to handle that without just complaining about what somebody's doing. Try to help handle the situation. So without just nattering to the power to kill Pete in a straightforward or more suppressive veiled ways to him, or to underhandedly, like, you know, they saying stuff about you, boss. You know, he's saying don't, even if you being straightforward or underhanded, you want to be able to handle the situation on your own. As these rep the power that supports yours. when you're putting that nattering, that complaining on the plate of the power source, is bringing the power down. Okay, you want to be able to have enough delegated to you to say, I'm going to handle this for you, ma'am. I'm going to handle this for you, sir. Or I try my best to handle this for you. I try my best to smooth it out. He doesn't have to know all the bad news. And if he's a power really, he won't ask all the time. For example, what are all those dead bodies doing at the door? The power really won't ask that. The power got so much going on, they probably won't look at that, the bodies. Now, I know these are drastic examples, but, follow me. If you are clever, you never let it be thought he killed them. So even if you gotta handle business, you gotta handle some problems, you won't make it seem like if anything goes wrong, you make sure you take responsibility for that. Not that, oh, well, it's really the supervisor's fault, even though I tried to handle it. No. You would never think that if something bad happened and you're under the position of power, connected to a power, that what went wrong happened because of the power. No, it happened because you didn't handle it well enough. You were not clever enough. And now they making it seem like it was the source of power that gave the order. The source of power that said clean up the mess. No, it was you. But even so, even if it does go wrong and the employee or the power told you to do it, don't mess up. Take responsibility of what went wrong. That is the way to handle power. And if you are clever, you won't let it be thought he killed him. That weakens you and also hurts the power source. For example, well, boss, about all those dead bodies, nobody will suppose you did it. It's the guy talking to the boss. She over there, those pink legs sticking out, didn't like you. Well, he'll say, if he's really a power, why are you bothering me with it if it's done and you did it? Here, where's my blue ink? Meaning, let me just get on with my work. Or skipper, meaning somebody in charge of a ship. The junior is saying to the skipper, hey, skipper, or hey, boss, 3 shore patrolmen will be along soon with your cook, Dover. And they'll want to tell you he beat up Simpson. Who's Simpson? He's the clerk in the enemy office downtown. Good. When they've done it, take Dover down to the dispensary, meaning places where you get what you need for any treatment at the hospital. So take him down to the dispensary for any treatment he needs. Oh yes, raise his pay. Or, sir, could I have the power to sign divisional orders? Sure. So division orders is a larger area of the company. So the last one is more, less drama. You want.
Let me just stop right there for just a minute, just to see if anyone has any questions, any thoughts, any cognitions, anything?
Lukman, since I came in late, what is it that we're reading from?
We have a beloved brother with us by the name of Brother Remy, and he's sharing with us some information that he came across in the book called Scientology Book of Ethics. And basically, to kind of give a quick synopsis of it, in the Scientology Book of Ethics, there's these different what's called condition equations or condition formulae. So that whenever a certain circumstance takes place, there's a certain formula that you apply. And one thing that he was discussing in this is that, I mean, there's many things he was discussing, but the one things that I picked up from is that anytime we as an individual try to get a new program off the page or get something implemented or started, there's always people that kind of stand in the way and they block progress. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Just to give a quick demo kit, remember when we spoke about Ohm's law, how you have an electric circuit in the home and the current flows through, the light comes on, and you have those dimmers? Remember that?
Yes, sir.
And the dimmers manipulate the resistance in the wire. So as you increase the resistance, the light goes gets dim and eventually the light will go out. Well, there's individuals like that. They give resistance. And as they give resistance to believers, brothers and sisters who have great ideas that will move things forward, those that give resistance, they cause the light of the believer to go out. And this is just how I'm perceiving it. And that's why some believers will leave the mosque. It's not that they don't believe anymore. They didn't stop loving the minister. It's just that believers have gifts. But if they're not allowed to allow their gift to be manifest, like the minister said, don't hide your light under a bushel basket, then believers will take their light and do it someplace else. And that's kind of like, that's part of what he was speaking about, just based on my interpretation of it. Allah has a flow with regards to the way the universe is going. And Allah deposits inspiration and ideas into believers, correct? You with me?
Yes.
This is for anyone. And what happens is, if the ideas and the inspirations are coming from Allah, then going back to Ohm's law, Allah is the voltage. Allah is the pressure or the desire that pushes the will of the individual. And the individual is just manifesting what Allah is inspiring in their heart. Well, when individuals get in the way of that flow, they look at it as if they're blocking the individual, and really you're blocking Allah. And so Allah has the ability to move people out of the way to allow people to manifest their gifts, because really that gift is a bearer of witness to Allah. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then there's a key point he said here. He's talking about people that press buttons and it blows back towards the individual. Well, aren't we studying that right now? Study guide number 17 with hypocrisy. Wasn't Haman pulling strings in the background, trying to set up Mordecai? Y'all with me?
Mm-hmm.
And what happened? Haman set himself up, right? He was so dead set on getting Mordecai and Esther that he set himself up. And Confucius says it like this. He says, whenever you seek revenge on a person, he says, dig 2 graves. So we'll go with Sister Angela, who's live and direct from the mothership. And then if Brother Remy would like to give us some other supporting data, then that would be wonderful. Go ahead, Sister Angela.
Yes, sir. Assalamu alaikum. Happy Savior's Day.
Salam. Happy
Actually, when you was talking, I went straight to study guide number 17, and ironically, we are taught not to allow the hypocrites to run us out the mosque.
Mm-hmm.
So if this has a formula for some of us that get our buttons pressed and leave, hopefully within this class, that can help some of us that need it, because sometimes Allah allows these things to make us, to hone those skills that we have, or to make us stronger. So that's the instruction, not to allow it, and this can help people see the importance of sticking around, inshallah.
That's the minister described it like this. He talked about the sandpaper people and the wood people, right? Sandpaper people have a job to do. Their job is to smooth out the believers. Brother Remy, you have anything you'd like to add, brother?
Yes, I would like to add an example that you both brought up to help bring the point out about the blowback. So what I believe Aaron Hubbard is saying from his analysis of Manuela and Bolivar is that you're working in a capacity of someone in a authority to aid and assist that person, and something goes wrong. Now, our immediate response may be, like the minister has taught us, you want to save your backside. So you would say, well, Brother Captain or Sister Captain told me to do X, Y, and Z. So he says, when you do that, even though you was instructed to do that, they didn't give you the instruction for something negative to happen, even though they asked you to do it and you willingly, out of your good graces, decided to help. But you, when you do that, you weaken your power as being the person who was delegated that assignment, and you weaken the power that delegated it to you. So he's saying that although it may feel uncomfortable, and I would say that in many instances, we may feel that this naturally feels unfair. So if she told me to do it and something negative happened, why won't I just say she told me to do it? But you were tasked with it. So he's saying to cover down on that, to say that, you know what, I take responsibility. You know, it was my job to make sure that this actually got there at a certain time, or this happened. We wanted it to go this way. Don't worry about it. He's saying you're protecting the source. You're protecting the power from the source of power from which your power come from. So that's just another example. Hopefully that helps as well.
No, that's a perfect example. I know where I work at, whenever we make a mistake, the assistant chief doesn't really like no long drawn out explanation. He just says, just own it. Just own it, take responsibility, and then change it. Don't give no long drawn out excuses or try to, nope, just own it. And I think that's kind of like what I'm getting from that as well. Thank you, Brother Remy. Okay, let's keep it going.
To have power delegated to you, you want to do your best to clean up the mess or take responsibility of the mess and not have it go back to your source of power. You want to handle situations and in a way that you don't even, once you handle it, you don't even go back to the power and let the power know. Like, hey, give me a cookie. I handled the situation. Just handle it for the power and get on with it. You know, or let the power know, yo, this situation was handled. It's good. We back on the road. Things are getting better. It was a little hiccup, but handle it. You don't even got to worry about it. The person in power, he's saying, if they're truly a power, they're not even going to go into the details. They're to say, where's my blue ink? Let me get on with the, work. And they'll probably assign more power to you because they feel they have their attention, their thoughts, their concerns on whatever they believe is more important for them to keep their mind on, not micromanaging you. Okay. So 7. And lastly, most important, for we all aren't on the stage with our names and lights. We all not on the billboard. Some of us have to play the background role. Always push power. What is the definition of power? The root of power is ability. Power means to have influence. You want to push ability. You want to show that your power is able. You want to give your power opportunity to grow, to focus on what they need to focus on. You want to show the power that because of you, they have more influence. They're reaching more people. They're getting more steps. They're getting more customers, whatever it is. So always push power in the direction of anyone on whose your power depends. Don't take it for yourself. Now, I know sometimes it happens that people will bless you because of what you're doing on behalf of the power, but push it. Always push it. Be like, all praises due to Allah. Oh, you know what? The minister taught me that. My mother taught me that. My father taught me that. Or me, like me presenting this, I could present this and act like it came from me. I could present this and say like it came from somebody else or this person, but I'm showing you where it comes from, because if this matters to you, if this is value to you, you will see, if this is matters and valuable to you, you will see that Allah will bless you. There's spiritual aspects of doing the right thing and being effective while you're doing the right thing. So I'm flowing the power to where power comes from, okay? I wouldn't have been studying this if it wasn't for the Honorable Miss Louis Farrakhan. I would not be here if it was for my family, my parents, people around me that have been mentoring me, so many to name. I wouldn't join the nation without Alpha Phi Alpha. I'm repping. And me showing this, I'm pushing power, because one of the brothers that pledged me is an FOI, or was an FOI, still is, but at that time, sometimes when you say was, people will automatically assume the negative person not in it. But the brother who was pledging me was FOI. Brother David Muhammad Mosque, number 3, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And that was really opened my eyes to the Nation of Islam. And further on, registering in Madison, Wisconsin, in the study group under brother student minister Murid Muhammad, at that point named Maurice, but Murid Muhammad. So I'm trying to flow power. As you can see, that's just an example. All praises due to Allah for those men and women that came into my life to help me grow and blossom. So you want to flow power to those whom your power depend. Okay? It may be more money for the power, or more ease for the power, or a snarling defense of the power to a critic, or even the dull thud of one of his enemies in the dark, or the glorious blaze of the whole enemy camp as a birthday surprise. Yeah, these examples pretty drastic, pretty full of drama. So flow power. And he said, lastly, and most important. So if you thought 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way to 6 was BS, it's garbage, it conflicts with your religion, it conflicts with what you taught, whatever, maybe I said a word you didn't understand for whatever reason, he's saying lastly and most important. So if you just take this away, help the power become more powerful, flow power to the person in authority, assist the person in authority if your power depends on them. Now, some of us in our upsets and because of the dross and the friction and the lux, and some people are sandpaper, some people are wood, you may be like, well, my power don't depend on that person. That person, although they there by name, my power really don't. You want to be careful. Just be careful when you're being critical, because you're working with somebody, even though they may not even be in a position of power or authority, you recognize something about them that is powerful in the activity that you're doing. So these laws, again, it may not just come out in a nameplate or a badge or a title on a sheet of paper. It may come out in you being able to have your eyes open, right? Purifying your heart, praying, fasting, exercising, studying, doing good. That you see that, man, she's a source of power. He's a source of power. I should flow, push, as he say, push, power, always to that person, because I depend on that person in this activity. May not be in every activity, but in this activity. Push power towards your wives. Push power to those who are teaching and raising your children. Push power towards those people who help you do things that you don't have enough time to do. Push power to people that establish relationships and connections for you, because one of the most important things in this universe is our communication and relationship with each other, which goes back to the reason why I believe the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is going so heavy on love, because without love, communication is not going to exist. Communication flows on love. And then from communication, you have relationships. So people who are establishing relationships for you, you want to make sure you push power to those people always, and most importantly. Okay, he's about to close this out. If you work like that, doing all 7, and the power you are near or depend upon is a power, if they're truly a power that has at least some inkling, some understanding about how to be one. Because some people are in a powerful position, but they don't know how to be one. So here's your disclaimer, So if that person at least has some inkling about how to be one, and if you make others work like that, then the power factor expands. You make others work like that. Man. So you can't do it by yourself. Like I said, the relationships. So even if you're a good example of power, are the people around you a good example of that power? Are they flowing power, pushing power to that power? You want to get others to work like that too. And maybe as you push power to the power, they push something back to you, which helps you influence your peers. If you make others work like that, then the power factor expands and expands and expands, and you too acquire a sphere of power bigger than you would have if you worked alone. Don't worry about your name, brother. Make my commission known, and Allah will represent you to the people. Paraphrase, that's not an exact quote, forgive me for that, but those of you who know the exact quote, you can send it to me, and you know it, and you recite it to yourself now. But the minister made his teacher's great commission known in Allah, because Allah is the master of mathematics. He's the master of law. He's the master of science and research. He made him big and bigger and expanding and expanding. Okay? If you worked alone. See, if the minister did it by himself, he would have still been affluent. They would have had him teaching in Mecca or being a celebrity, but he flew power to somebody. He knew the power to pin them, his teaching, and Allah. Okay? Real powers are developed by tight conspiracies, right? Seed goes down into the earth, germinates, tight, keeping it tight, keeping it closed, right? Tight, not being loose, obeying. Like, okay, we know we're gonna do, your job is to do this. My job is to do this. My job is to do that. Tight, not loose, like confused, vague assignments, vague jobs, vague orders, tight orders, okay? Communication going back and forth smoothly, on time, responding. These are developed by tight conspiracies, not broadcasting it to everybody, okay? Real powers are developed by tight conspiracies of this kind, pushing someone up in whose leadership they have faith. You already know who you have faith in. So push power to your, push power. If you're gonna work there, spend 8 hours a day there, push power. Or find something you do believe in, find something you're happy in. You know who the Honorable Minister Farrakhan is to us and to you. Push power. If he has faith in somebody you put in power, you have faith in them. Okay? And if they are right, and also manage their man, meaning the person, he or she in power, and keep him from collapsing through overwork, keep him from collapsing through bad temper. Are you encouraging the source of power in a very nice way? The source of power have to take care of him or her mindset too. So you keeping them from collapsing through overwork, from things that you know that piss off the power source, right? Or giving them bad data, all right? A kind of juggernaut builds up. Juggernaut is a force that once moved cannot be stopped. So are we really settling our differences between one another? Or are we overburdening our captains, overburdening our student ministers, giving them bad data, not verifying the information, making sure, because slack top gossip, envy, and jealousy, it changes information when it comes out of your mind and out of your mouth or on written paper. So it's going to come out as bad data, information, okay? So a kind of juggernaut builds up. Don't ever feel weaker because you work for somebody stronger. The only failure lies in taxing or pulling down the strength on which you depend. You can make him collapse through overwork, bad temper, bad data, okay? All failures to remain a power's power are failures to contribute to the strength and longevity of the work. Are you contributing to the strength and longevity, the health and the power of that power? Devotion requires active contribution outwards, not just just trying to share all the good things that you're doing, but you're not really doing it, right? You want to spend more time creating the influence than you are reporting what you've done good or in the face of the power. That's what I get from this. Devotion requires active contribution outwards from the power, as well as in. So you want to do the activity, but you also want to know that you're doing things to help the power become power and really handling the situations that are happening internally in the organization to make sure people are working together. So I have to run. I pray that this was helpful for you, into your business, into your family, into your life. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me. You have more data that I should be incorporating into this from the teachings, from your knowledge of business. Please reach out to me. My email address is remiaregbessola@yahoo.com. Again, that's remiaregbessola@yahoo.com. My name is Brother Remy Aregbesola. I do business consulting as well. You want to reach out to me. As a student of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, I want to see people flourish and prosper. We have a universal mission to raise the dead, to become who they need to be in life, to serve Allah, and to remove the enemy off our planet, everywhere on our planet. So I hope that this was very useful to you. Let me know what you think about it. And until next time, Assalamu alaikum.
All right, family, the floor is open. Questions, thoughts, cognitions, ideas, postulates, comments, anything. Go ahead, Sister Peggy.
Assalamu alaikum, family.
Alaikum salam.
Assalamu alaikum, Brother Remy.
Alaikum
When,
salam, man.
when you were talking about the power, it just reminded me of the time when I was in the Army. I was in the Army Nurse Corps. And what I noticed is that your supervisor always wanted you to make them look good. Always. But you never really got any tools to do that. And if something happened that might reflect negatively on them, you didn't get any help from them. But it was always about making them look good.
Brother Remy?
You know, yes, I'm sorry, I had to come off mute.
That's
You
no
know,
problem.
that makes sense. Or I mean, it makes sense according to the laws. There was one point where he says, get enough to be able to do your job. So that's a violation of one of the law. You didn't have enough to get it done. So if someone tells you, well, I want you to have 10,000 people show up at Savior's Day that you personally invited, if you don't know how to get that done, how can you make someone that source of power look good? So from what you're telling me, it shows that these 7 points, and it could be more. I don't think that this is an exhaustive list. And he even said it, these are at least 7. So these are the top 7 that he believes that we do not understand. So it's one thing to want to make someone look good, and there's another thing to know how to do it. Otherwise, you're going to end up violating power. You're not going to be the quote unquote, like he says, you're not going to become the power's power. You're not going to become the go-to. At the same time, the person who's assigned it to you, their status in that organization is going to decrease because of those mistakes. So those two things are likely to happen.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Brother Remy. Sister,
And
oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
so I think Sister Angela, do you want me to explain more about pushing power?
Yes, sir. I wanted to know, what does that mean? Because I'm not I'm familiar with business ethics and some other college courses, especially when it comes to being a manager. It sounds very familiar, but I want to know what pushing power means.
Right. In every situation, it would be different. Pushing power, just on the face of it, push is to like exert energy. So it's not something that you do lazy, I forget how do you pronounce that word. It's not just something you do like laissez-faire, just, okay, when it comes easy to me, when I have an opportunity. So I invite people to the mosque whenever I have an opportunity. That wouldn't be pushing power. Pushing power would be, you know what? I feel like watching that show on Netflix that I like to watch. This is the time of my day. My day has been long. This is my Netflix time. And I'm going to take 15 minutes and I'm going to invite some people to the mosque. That would be pushing power. So, and he gives an example. Pushing power can be making more money for the source of power, more influence, or doing something in the night to blow up a enemy camp to blow up an enemy base or something like that at night. So whatever you have to understand who your power is coming from. Your power is coming from Allah. What does Allah like to see? And then when you exert energy toward that direction, you are pushing power.
Yes, sir. I think you kind of summed it up because that's probably where I got a little confused when it was, because I would only think that we all would be pulling from Allah, the true source of power. So when it came to anybody else, it was a little confusing. Thank you.
Yeah, the ultimate source of power, right, is Allah. And Allah lays down, respect those in authority. That doesn't conflict with your religion. So if your children or if your nieces and nephews are like, you know what, I ain't gonna sweep the floor, you ain't my source of power. Allah brought me here, Allah take me out. Well, you pay for the bills in the house. You taking care of them and cook for them. So if they say, well, you're not the ultimate source of power because Allah's the power according to the study guide, then they will be violating power because they're not working. They're not cooking the meals. So yes, he is, but we have to recognize that there are those who are in stations above us, that are directing us in a certain activity, and those people are powerful as well.
Thank you, fam.
I thought I was on mute. I'm sorry.
Okay, go
I'm
ahead.
trying to unmute and I'm not muted. Okay, yeah. I was just kind of laughing because if just imagining my nieces and nephews or whatever child, they just won't eat. Then it'd be that simple. But yeah, it did remind me of the study guide, respect for authority. I guess it's the language change that is the conflicted part. That's it. Thank you.
Right. And let me say something about the language. So when you're reading, everybody that writes something, 99% of the people that write something are not raised and taught and trained by the Nation of Islam. I almost say that we call just assume that's a scientific fact. If we go out and pick up a book off the shelf, outside our house, 99% of those books are not going to be written by somebody in the Nation of Islam, right? So I'm saying that to say that we are surrounded in a world that doesn't speak, quote unquote, our language in the nation. So when we have circles like this, that Brother Lukman and you all set up, and you read something else, once you have an understanding of what they were trying to say, using a dictionary, understanding where the writer is coming from, then you try to put it in our language so we can speak with it on our terms with past, present, and perfect tense being all in alignment. So I'm not saying that to say that what you said was wrong. I'm saying I want to add on to that is that we're going from one language to another because I don't want us to get caught up and say that, well, man, this don't speak my language. Shoot, everything outside in the world don't speak our language. Baby language is not our language, but we still speak baby language because we're trying to communicate to the brothers and sisters that's still in a baby condition.
Yes, sir. I think the language change for me, it kind of sums to respect for authority. The pushing power part is it translates to respect for me.
Yes. Now, do you know some people that respect people in authority, but they really don't exert any type of energy to get something done? They would say that, well, I respect you. I'm going to say, yes, ma'am. But are they really exerting some type of energy after the holdback to get it done? Right?
I really can't answer that.
No, we can only speak for ourselves.
No, for myself, no.
Okay. That's a beautiful that's a beautiful expression. Now I can speak for myself and I said that, yeah, I respect you, but I'm not gonna do it. Like I expect that I understand and acknowledge what you say. So in the deepest sense of respect would be to have reverence and to launch you into the work. But because of sometimes how we play with words, people may respect it, but people may not carry it out. And that wouldn't be right. Like your take on respect is actually the take I believe I should have and we should have.
Okay, yes, sir. Thank you.
So do we have ARC on that point? I got Sister Deborah, and then I got Sister Patricia. Go ahead, Sister Deborah.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. I just had a question on, you mentioned tight conspiracy. Can you go a little bit more into that? I'm trying to take notes.
So from my understanding, so I want to preface this from that. A lot of these examples are militaristic. You know, they're full of a lot of drama. And he was in the Navy as well. So when you're in the Army, they are planning a conspiracy against the enemies of that army, like another country. So in our language in Islam, when we hear conspiracy, we thinking, oh, somebody plotting against the messenger or those who are trying to help the messenger. They're within the ranks plotting conspiracies, right, to do something illegal or wicked, okay? But in this sense, it's you and your group, and the leader of that group. You aren't loose, you know, with your information. You're not, you know, what we have in the nation is a threat to the powers that be. So we're not going to have a holdback meeting and then go on Facebook and share what we talked about in the holdback meeting and be loose. We want to be tight, you know, because what we're doing in the nation is a conspiracy to somebody who wants the status quo. It's illegal to free the slave. It's illegal for quote unquote slaves to read, right? So that is a conspiracy to them. But we want to make sure if you want power to stay tight, you want power to grow, when you all huddle up, when you all come up with your plan, your strategic plan, your goals, you know, you keep it within those who are meant to be part of the discussion, because there could be those outside of it who may not be an aid to you. And sometimes it can be harmless. Like, have we ever had someone who means very well to us? We told them an ambition and they was like, oh, why would you want to do something so silly? And they didn't mean any harm. They were they were reacting instead of responding, you know? But if you kept a tight conspiracy with Allah about something you wanted to do, well, I want to gain 5 pounds of muscle. What you want to gain 5 pounds of muscle, girl? Ain't nobody, you know, care about that. You know, then it just knocks the seed away. But if you and Allah kept a tight conspiracy and you and Allah worked on that together and you drawing from him as a source of strength, right? And then when it's time to broadcast it to other people according to your promotional plan or your public relations plan, then it's done on your accord. You follow me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for that.
All right, thank you, family. Go ahead, Sister Patricia.
I sound like a brother Remy. I'm going to give an example of what I think you're saying when you say pushing power. So in the nation, when I joined the nation, there was a sister. She and I became really fast friends, and our families got along very well. Anyway, she was made in our structure, the sister captain. And so then she made me her first officer. And so we got along really, really well. And if she gave me an instruction, I could take the instruction and do whatever needed to be done. It didn't matter if I didn't agree with it. She was the authority at the time. And so I just followed my instructions. Would you call that pushing power?
Absolutely. That sounds like a lawful relationship between somebody in authority and someone who depends on the authority for their power, and you're trying to help that person become successful. Pushing power is just you're doing what is necessary to help that person be successful. I will like to say that it's not, well, my sister captain told me to do A, but really what she need is B. So I'm not going to do A, and I'm going to do B for her. Now, that is a very risky situation. It's likely to come up with more losses than wins. So you may want to do A and take your initiative to do B, maybe. But sometimes people say that, you know, let me know if you have a new idea. Some of the things that some situations are, let me say it like this. From the person in authority to the person who's not in authority, we want to give space where we can learn each other. So when someone is even taking an initiative and they learn that that was a no-no, the power is not just, the person in authority is not just saying, you know, that's it. You're not my first lieutenant no more. You know, even though it wasn't a grave or big, a huge mistake. So we do want to give that leeway to learn each other, but we want to make sure that what we're doing is actually helping that person become more able, become more influential.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And it was very good. I think it was a very good situation because we could both separate our friendships from our position in authority. So it worked out really well. But thank you.
Praise be to Allah.
Thank you, family. Anyone else? All the questions have been answered. All the thoughts have been shared.
Sister Peggy dropped something in the chat. She says, Assalamu alaikum. I am a squad leader, and the sisters in my squad are supposed to call once a week to inform me of their status. Do they call? No, only 3 call regularly. Now, there's more that I can go into, but I wanted to keep it on these 7 points. Now, based on these 7 points, if you go to the paragraph after point number 7 in the ethics book, he talks about having bad data, right? And the source of power being overwhelmed. So you as a squad leader, your job is to help the burden of the student captain. You want to be able to get data. So you're getting information from the sisters and you're channeling it up. So not only can you, 3 out of 12, you don't have accurate data because 3 out of 12 is a low number. So you don't have accurate, right? You may not get it timely. So that's also makes it bad. Then the mental stress of not getting the information is afflicting the captain. So the captain, you know, I don't know how the captain is taking it. So what I see is that that is causing an unnecessary burden mentally and because of lack of information. So we want to practice sending the information that is needed at a timely fashion so our leadership knows that we support them. We want them to have accurate information, and we don't want them to be worried about, oh my God, I gotta ask them for something else again. They're not gonna send it to me. And you know how it is, only 3 out of 10. That's such a spirit killer, you know? And really, in when I look at these 7 points, there are laws that he's trying to say, let's help raise the spirit of our nation. Let's help raise people in authority up, because Brother Remy's name is not in lights. And that's okay. He's trying to show like it's okay that your name is not in lights, because do you have faith in your leader, the Honorable Ms. Louis Farrakhan? Yes, you do. Then push the power, then exhort your effort, then strive to be steadfast, strive to be the foremost, and just do better at it. So the power of our nation grows, power at last, forever, right? So even then, power is in our lexicon, is in our language. That's one of the minister's most powerful address, is power at last. And the products that he came out with was power products. So power, how to handle power is something as believers we should be cognizant of and understands the laws of it and find ourselves encouraging one another to practice it.
Thank you, family. Anyone else?
Yes, yes, sir.
Go ahead, Sister Raynell.
I think this was a beautiful presentation, and I'm just in my mind, unfortunately, so conflicted because I'm having some difficulty. Like, how can I push a power that that I don't agree with, or that is like just like bad morale, just like not a good example. But this is all in my opinion, right? My aberrated mind. But it's a little difficult for me. And I found myself kind of like, stepping back a little bit. But yeah, I would love to know your thoughts on that for me.
Yeah, so there's two things I want to bring up. So based on what I remember reading from here, if what is being asked for me increase the influence and the ability for Allah through his exalted Christ and the Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan to grow in influence among people on this planet, then it should be done, and I should do all that I can to help. And I'm not just giving you that because that's like a quote unquote canned answer. But I'm saying that to say my next point. The second thing is that there's a difference between an objection and a complaint. So part of my professional background is sales. And one of the sales training that I did take was from a gentleman named Grant Cardone. Now, there's a difference between objection and a complaint, okay? So the captain says something to Brother Remy, or the student secretary, says, Brother Remy, you dummy, man, make sure that the cars are on this side of the street, right? Two things go through my mind, right? That was disrespectful. Let's just say they just came out of nowhere. I didn't precipitate it. He just came out and just said, this car is supposed to be in a different location. And he asked me to do something. Now, the complaint is the way he conveyed what he said. Do I have an objection to the safety protocol that he's trying to implement, right? Do I have an objection of him exerting his authority to organize that part of the detail? No, I don't. But I do have a complaint. So the more, and this gets better with more fasting, with more praying, with more auditing. This gets better. I separate the complaint from the goal. And I find myself not being an objection to what is being done, although I have a complaint about maybe the way we may be going about it could be better, or the way it's conveyed could be better, or just something different. So I ask myself, without going into your situation, because I don't know your situation, is really identifying what is a complaint and what is an objection to the goal. And if you find yourself, well, quite frankly, Brother Remy, I'm objecting to the goal, and you finding yourself in objection to what we're trying to accomplish, then that's a much a deeper discussion with the student minister. Now, if you have a complaint and the complaints are not being handled, then we have also the atonement process to handle those types of complaints. I hope that helps.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Sister Angela?
Yes, sir. I was reading in the comments with the situation with being an officer. I was the first officer, and of course I ran into a lot of problems as far as giving information and the wellness of the sisters. And so much so that I saw a problem within those in authority. And it's just Sister Peggy background is just screaming out to me, because this is something that we always see on Star Trek. Star Trek is full of problems that are caused by insubordination. Basically, how we feel about the instruction, and it really has nothing to do with how we feel. It's about carrying it out. What I did come up with was an 8-week course that entailed auditing, because we have to keep in mind the minister put us on this course. He put the laborers on the course first, because the laborers, as Brother Lukman says with the dimmer, they are the ones that are basically manipulating this pressure of the flow of this energy. So they have the ability to mobilize or immobilize the ranks. So this 8-week course was to address how basically it was a crash course and proper handling of the people. But of course it had to do with what makes some scenarios where harsh words are used, like the brother just made the example, and what makes us resort to those harsh words instead of words that would be effective and kind of exact some type of movement. So I just wanted to share that when we find ourselves in a position of power and it bothers us that people are not responding, or we get an instruction that we may not agree with, we might want to see within us what's causing this, because this is a communication that shouldn't, any feelings, especially emotionally, feelings develop. If you are a squad leader or a lieutenant and the sisters are supposed to be calling once a week, that's her choice. That's her choice. If she's going to call or not. And we have to respect the person's choice. It's not personal. It's whatever's going on in their life. And we have to remove ourselves from taking it personal. And that may require some auditing on our part, so we don't take it personal. And I had an incident real quick that an instruction was passed on, and it was passed on and colored so bad that it affected the first officer, and he ended up giving an instruction that almost got him time out the mosque because of how it was relayed to him. We color things when we have to pass on instruction. So I see the importance, especially in this hour, because we can't afford to take on mixed instructions, of really leaving things intact and taking ourselves out of it. That's it.
Thank you, Sister Angela.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else? For the believers that are on, is there anyone here that has never seen the video clip of the minister speaking about Dianetics? So everyone has seen that video, correct? It's like about a 10-minute video, Sister Dora?
What? I'm not sure exactly sure what video you're talking about.
There's a video that was presented by it was Minister Tony Muhammad at the time, Minister Abdul Saeed out of Los Angeles. And it's about a 10-minute clip of the minister. I believe it was done at the org in Los Angeles. If anyone has any data on that, please correct me. But it's about a 10-minute clip where the minister is speaking specifically about Dianetics, where he makes the statement about our wisdom is like a safe and we've lost the combination, that the Dianetics is a tool. Has everyone seen that video?
I don't believe I have.
Okay. Once we
I
finish,
haven't either.
say again?
This is Sister Dora. I haven't seen it either.
Okay.
Either.
So once we finish our discussion, I'll save that video clip for last and leave some room for us to discuss the video of the minister's words. I want to have it in the recording just in case down the road that clip gets removed from YouTube. We have a recording of it. We have it. I want to recognize one of our pioneers, Brother Wahid Muhammad is with us. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Walaikum salam, sir.
How you feeling, Brother Wahid?
I feel fine, but I'm trying to get my video to change. I pushed the video by mistake. Now I don't know how to correct it. So
Well, we can hear your voice, and we know we can see your smiling face, Brother Wahid.
you can see it.
I can see it I can see it with my mind. I know you're smiling.
Oh, okay. But I was trying to correct. 'Cause I was trying to get the video, but I pushed the audio. I mean, I tried to get the audio, but I pushed the video.
Yeah, you're up for a split second, brother, but you're back off screen.
Okay. Well, answer your question. I'm really enjoying every bit of this conversation, and I think it's one of the most important things that we can use this communication system to dialogue with each other, because this kind of dialogue is put us back into the process of into the dialogue that the commissioners use to get the restructure and reorganize the nation. This is the kind of dialogue we use for the restructuring and reorganization of the nation, and that's what we're still in the process of doing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So now we're not dealing with just the 36 commissioners. We're dealing with all the ones that come on these different on your show. And there's not too many in comparison to how many people there are, but it's a nucleus that we can use to help get a better understanding of our general concept of the nation, so we can make some corrections and improve our operation and improve our ability to grow. But I don't want to get into the details of that. But I would strongly recommend that we study the commissioners' dialogue that they used to come up with the conclusion that they came up with, that Mr. Farrakhan approved.
Mm-hmm.
Because if he approved it, well, we still are not. Most of it didn't even hear it. Don't know anything about it. And so that's why the Dianetics and everything is part of the tool that we use to help us with that. And most of the ones on your program, I think most of them have studied Dianetics. I'm not sure, but I think they have. But we just need to get advanced training and re-educate ourselves on what we think we know.
Yes, sir.
Because if we get that out of the way, it would help us. It would improve our understanding of ourselves and each other, and how we relate to all the different things that we're talking about in our nation. So Brother Luke Warren,
Yes,
you know
sir.
it. You're very skillful at manipulating people. That's all I have to say. Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Walaikum salam. No, sir. I'm not trying. I'm trying to push the power, brother.
That's what you do. You do a very good job of that.
Just try to push the power, brother. I don't mind being in the background.
The one thing about that term, push the power, there's not but one power.
That's right.
So if you push anything other than that, you push it other than God.
Mm-hmm.
So you're automatic in opposition to God when you push other than God.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how we have to. That's our thinking has to be in that same whatever we're doing. Then we got to do it from that perspective that there's only one God.
That's right. That's right.
And he had that means there's only one power.
Go ahead, brother.
Let me get off the line here, brother.
Thank you, brother. Walaikum salam, sir. Thank you, brother Wahid. You know, as brother Remy was going down those 7 points, it's like I could see different lectures that the minister had given, and how the minister, and I'm paraphrasing this, but the minister has said in many different points in time where he's not envious of anyone because of their gift, because we all have a gift. And then if we promote the gift of other people, then what we're really doing is we're promoting the presence of God in that person.
That's right.
So then there's so much room in this universe for all, there's trillions of stars in the universe. And you don't see stars fighting other stars. You don't see planets fighting to get in the orbits of other planets. We all have a purpose for being here. We all have something that we have to do. And Allah has made it in such a way that all of us are totally different. We can support one another and promote one another. I remember seeing it like this. It was a little clip I saw on YouTube, I think it was. And it was like, you can take a candle, you can light a candle, and you can have a room full of candles. And you can take that one candle and you can light every candle in that room, and it doesn't take away from the light of the candle that you use. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All of us
Powerful example.
All of us have light, brother, but all of our light comes from the same source. So it's just light upon light. We can share the light, but it doesn't cause us to lose our light, because really the light don't belong to us anyway. We're just a manifestation of the light. But when we fight against one another, really we're fighting against the God in that other person. I hope that makes sense. And Brother Remy, there was another point you made, and then I'll show the clip. When we were speaking about how when a believer has a gift and they're not being utilized, then I can't remember exactly how you phrased it, but you're saying how if we can't live according to our purpose, that's kind of like where we get ourselves in trouble. We start to go back to the old way of doing things. Does that make sense?
Yeah, he was saying that if you have people that are around, so this point was, some of the 7 points are to the people who serve in a position.
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed like a few of the points were about the person who's actually in the authority. So he was saying to the person who's in that authority, if you got people around you, you want to tap into every single person. Because if you have somebody around you and they're not being utilized or underutilized, they're going to get upset. And we know that everybody who comes into our atmosphere, right? Everybody that comes into the nation, we have different levels of mental stability. Some people have been hurt and disappointed a lot. So if you take someone who's been hurt and mistreated or disappointed and who's skeptical and they're falling in, right? And then if you don't find out what they like to get involved in and get them busy doing it, somebody who's already that fragile will get upset and cause trouble. And why is because their purpose hasn't been aligned with what the organization is doing. They may be able to recite it. They can just, just rattle it off, but really, are they being utilized? Right? So they're gonna do something else, right? Maybe they get upset. Maybe they get upset and they try to block you, the person who's in charge. Maybe they get upset and they don't answer your calls, right? So getting upset can trigger a lot of different reactions, and it's so many different reactions that it wouldn't behoove us to study all the different reactions. What we do know, like you said, what we got from our teacher, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, is that everybody has a gift. So we may not know the 1,000 ways a situation may go wrong, but we know the way to make it right is that everybody that comes to Muhammad has something from Allah for Muhammad. So let's put them all to work fast.
There's 2 quick points. One is the minister said, "Blessed is the man who finds his purpose and is found doing it." That's the one point. The demo kit that came to mind when you were speaking in the presentation, the demo kit that came to mind was something that Sister Dr. Ava Muhammad said in the video, The Deportation of Moon. And she spoke about how when Atlantis was blown out from the earth, it created a void. And in that void, the water came back in and that produced the Atlantic Ocean. And as I'm thinking about that as a demo kit, that some in leadership, they want everyone to speak the same language, which is their language. So when another individual comes up with another idea of how to promote something that it might be different, but it's advantageous to the upward movement of the believers as a whole, what happens is sometimes an individual will do to that believer what that one scientist did with the earth and blow it up. Does that kind of make sense?
Yes.
Okay, you blow up that believer. So what happens is you remove the desire. That's being blown from the earth. You remove that desire. In the language of Dianetics, we can call that an invalidation. So what happens is in that invalidation of the believer, that created a void, because to that believer, this was the purpose in which they felt Allah had brought them there to begin with. Now, when they have that void, because of the invalidation, what fills the void after that's gone? They might go back to the world. And the things of the world will come back and fill up the void. And now they have that moon that's constantly pulling on them of what could have been, what should have been. And that could be seen as what causes the wobble of some of us to actually leave the mosque. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Is that a good demo kit?
Yeah, that's a good, I appreciate that analogy.
Praise be to Allah. Okay, let me see if I can pull this video real quick. Let's see. I know it's there because I just checked on it.
And I see you, Sister Charlotte. Assalamu alaikum. Remember you from back from Muhammad Mosque number 3.
She's at work, so she might not be able to speak.
10-4.
Let's see. Okay. Oh, you here? Because I just saw you. When you pull up something about the minister, they put it way down at the bottom. Boy, they make you hunt for him now.
Right.
They make you search for him. They took off Savior's Day 2011 where he talked about Dianetics. You can't even find it online anymore. They just took that totally off of YouTube. There it is. I got you. Okay. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
If you're trying to lose belly fat, stop doing cardio. This might sound like the opposite of what you've always heard.
Whatever.
Okay, then run the tape, please. I found something that I know we need, that would enable us to express the supreme wisdom that we already have, but it's like having a safe full of riches, but we lost the combination. So through Brother L. Ron Hubbard, we can open the wisdom that we have and execute that wisdom in a way that Scientology will be proud of us and we of them, but we are not a people that hide our light under a bushel basket. If we know that we gain something here, we're not the type of people that are ungrateful for what we receive that allows us to be better than what we are. I believe that Master Farad Muhammad knew that a meeting was going to take place like this. I don't know whether he met Brother L. Ron Hubbard, but I believe there was some contact. Scientists are like that. They meet in small little groups and they talk. And when they share with one another, they grasp little truths that they expand on. Yes. There's something here that belongs to us. And L. Ron Hubbard was a man we were destined to meet at the proper time. So when you mention, washing feet, I sat there with tears in my eyes because the greatest gift that I could give you was to give you that which would make you what you know you already are. You understand? Yeah. And if you don't, think about what I'm saying. The greatest gift that you could receive after the supreme wisdom is the technology that will allow you to manifest it. And that technology is here. I discovered it, and I wanted you to see what I saw, hear what I heard, feel what I felt, so that you wouldn't be timid or afraid of knowledge that will help us to be ourselves. And so I invite you. And as I watched you relate to each other tonight, I said every believer in the nation needs what you experienced in this week. Nobody can lead in our nation until and unless they become clear. Are you with me? We have no school of theology. We just study the word and do the best we can, but the time is out for that. Everybody has to be qualified to have a position or post in the Nation of Islam. Master Farad said the Nation of Islam is all wise and does everything right and exact. Mistakes shall not exist in the nation. Meaning they'll be made, but you wipe them out by doing better. So I am grateful that you came. And now, as I see my time is coming, whatever that may mean to you, if I could leave you with a science and a technology that will open up the wisdom that you have courted for years. But when you look at accomplishment, wisdom is known of its children. It's not what you say, it's what you can produce. So I hope, as Brother Shane has said, that this is not an end, this is a beginning, I pray, of a long and beautiful relationship. L. Ron Hubbard would be proud at this moment. And as I sat listening to you, I said, we need to go back to Chicago and set up a training center where we can bring all those who would want to be a part of this mission into Chicago, like they do at their Mecca in Florida, and teach them and train them and then send them out with qualification to do the job of the resurrection of our people. Man, I gotta go now, but I tell you, I hope that you all have a safe flight tomorrow. In fact, I think you'll be flying without a plane. Can't wait to get home to go to work. And I can't wait until everyone who wants to labor in this cause goes through what you just went through this week. I'm just grateful. God bless you.
All right, family.
Allahu Akbar.
Yes, sir. That's the video, brother. And I'll go ahead and send it to you as well. That way you have it. Now it's recorded so that if it's taken off YouTube, we still have it. Let me look at the comments real quick.
Thank you. Please do.
What is the name of the video? It is Farrakhan Speaks on Dianetics. Farrakhan Speaks on Dianetics. If you can find, if you have not already viewed Savior's Day 2011, I highly recommend that you study that, as well as Putting on the New Man, which I believe was also known as Putting in the New Man. Is that correct? Anyone?
No, it's called, the title is Putting on a New Man. And he
Putting on a New
said,
Man.
yeah, he said, but I believe in that lecture, he said, put in, put in him.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, praise be to Allah. Thank you, brother. Okay, family, the floor is open. If not, we will begin to wrap things up. I will post this for those that were not able to be with us at the very beginning. I'll post it to our YouTube channel within the next hour. It should be up if anyone wants to go back through and take notes and review it. I think everyone here is knowledgeable of the YouTube platform, correct? Okay, praise be to Allah. And before the end of the day, I'm gonna see if I can go ahead and post some other Zoom meetings that we've had in the past that have not been posted, so we can keep the material, keep the content fresh, and give us more data to study from. So at this time, the floor is open for any questions, comments, any thoughts, any suggestions, any improvements or corrections. Going once, going twice. Go ahead, Sister Peggy.
This is just a cognition. When I was studying at the org last week, on page 22, I was reading that it says, and I'm not going to take very long. Now, it is a curious thing that although everybody knows, and what a horrible amount of misinformation that statement lets circulate, it is human to err. The sentient portion of the mind which computes the answers to problems and which makes man is utterly incapable of error. Okay, so we got that we're incapable. But then I wrote that down as I was studying. And in addition to what he said, I wrote that the supreme wisdom says that there must not be any mistakes. So when you are continuously making mistakes, you make the above saying a fact that the description of a human being is the one who errs.
Yes, ma'am. So let's see if we can connect those two. Was there anything you misunderstood in that, or that was clear for you, Sister Peggy? You still with us, Sister Peggy?
Okay, can you hear? Okay.
Yep.
So yes, it's just that when I was studying, I said, oh, well, this studying has made me listen. Not only am I reading this, but what I've learned about Master Farad Muhammad and what he said in the Supreme Wisdom, he says we're not supposed to make mistakes.
Okay.
If you continue to make mistakes,
I'm sorry.
and if you continue to make mistakes, you're just going to see man as the being that errs. That's that. So
let's marry the two concepts together, because what L. Ron Hubbard is saying. Well, let's look at what the Savior's saying, that we can't continue to make mistakes. Now, what is the root? What is the root of the mistakes that we make? Based on the way L. Ron Hubbard shared with us, our mistakes are based on bad data, because he's saying that the mind doesn't make mistakes. Okay, it's a perfect computer. However, if there's errors that are being made, do you blame the computer or do you blame the data? Okay, so it's based on bad data. So if mistakes should not exist, by marrying these two concepts, we could also say that bad data should not exist, which means we should be continually trying to update our data or get rid of false data, correct? Praise be to Allah. And that's when you hear it, the first time I heard that, it was like one of those aha moments. Like it's not possible for me to calculate wrong. But when you look at our educational system, we all receive bad data. And it goes back to what the minister says, whoever, controls the diameter of your thinking also controls the circumference of your activity. Well, this educational system constricts our diameter so small that we have no circumference of activity. And that's exactly how they want it. Does that make sense? All praise due to Allah for the teachings, because it expands our diameter past the circumference of this world. Go ahead, Sister Ania. You're off mute, but we don't hear you. Are you there, Sister Anya? Now you're on mute. Maybe having some technical difficulties. Well, if anyone else has anything while we're waiting for Sister Anya, the floor is still open.
Thank you again for this wonderful opportunity. I appreciate it, bro.
Oh no,
And to you all that showed up as well.
oh, Brother Remy, thank you, brother, for such short notice, brother. I had no idea that this would, I had no idea that this would even come on because we just met around about 9:30.
Yeah, yes, sir.
We just met around 9:30, and Brother Raymond just sent me the clip around 9 o'clock. So I had no idea, but Allah says in the Holy Quran, wherever you all are, He says Allah will bring you all together. So this happened because this was meant to happen exactly the way it happened by Allah's grace.
Praise be to
Praise
Allah.
to Allah.
So to the believers, go ahead, Sister Raynell. I hear you.
Brother Remy, are you clear according to the Church of Scientology?
Oh yes, yeah. I didn't even talk about my background. Yes,
Go ahead, brother. The floor is open.
yeah, I went clear or achieved I achieved the glorious state of clear the eve of 4th of July of this year.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I had my first session in Tampa at our Holy Day of Atonement 2010.
Wow.
So it's a long journey, very satisfying journey, and being clear is a different level of operations. The way you process the world is different. The way the world receives you is different. And yeah, you are able to think clear and process things better and be more yourself. And that is the biggest gift. Then I also notice is that there's some abilities that you do gain that is similar to like watching X-Men. There are some abilities that you gain on the road to clear. Some of them you've exhibited as a child. They popped up at different points in your life, and things like that get magnified. So it's definitely the brochure definitely doesn't exaggerate what clear is.
Mm-hmm.
I also trained to class 4, class 4 auditor. I trained at Flag 2013. I became the first Gold Seal class 4 auditor in the Nation of Islam. Then when the church had the release of Golden Age of Technology 2, where they updated the technology and removed that which was tampered with and compiled it together to have it streamlined according to L. Ron Hubbard's instructions. So I did my training all over again. And the same year, I went back 4 months later and did my training again.
Wow. Praise be to Allah.
And to answer a question in the comments, if anyone wants to view this, they can go to YouTube. If you actually want an audio clip, just put your email in the chat. I can send you the audio. And another good thing about Brother Remy, the brother's Alpha. He's a frat, so just want to throw that
Hey,
out.
buddy.
Black and gold, brother. 06, bro.
And we just found that out, right? Because I was quoting in L. Ron Hubbard's words, I was pushing power to Alpha, and you saw it in the presentation, right? So had I held that light under a bushel basket, we would be talking and not knowing that we have that that connection in the world.
Yes, sir. So, yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. I will get those clips out. Brother Wahid, but I'm going to assume that might be Sister Anya, but the floor is open for either Sister Anya or Brother Wahid, whichever connection we have.
Yes, sir, it's me.
Okay, I figured.
Right, I had apparently the laptop I was using, I could hear, but it doesn't. There's something wrong with the volume on that
Okay.
laptop. But I guess my comment is about the video, the video clip of the minister. I felt that was a great accompaniment, great follow-up to Brother Remy's presentation, especially in respect of pushing power. Because the minister is encouraging us to do more to improve ourselves, as he had that whole course for us of self-improvement. And when we go through this process to get clear, to remove all of the blocks that are in us, it made me think of what you explained about Ohm's law, and how when that resistance is there, and it causes not only those around us to go dim, but it causes ourselves even to dim, and become a drag. Made me think of a aircraft, and that resistance, and the drag on the plane that causes that it has to overcome in order to pick up speed and increase its motion. So we have to do the same thing, and going clear helps us to raise our altitude and increase our speed. So by us going through this process to become clear, it helps us to help the minister. And just as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad asked Allah for an aider, and he gave him the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, who was gifted in speech and was able to use his talents to help the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad look good. So he was pushing power by lifting up the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And then Minister Farrakhan calls for us to help him. And if we don't try to improve ourselves, if we don't go through all of these processes, if we don't study the supreme wisdom, if we don't study, period, we continue to not go through this Dianetic process to take out those things, to get rid of those things in us that are slowing us down, then we're not becoming good helpers to him, and we're not doing what's necessary to make him look even better, because we're not being examples of what he's teaching. So the world is looking for they see Minister Farrakhan and like what they're hearing, like what they're seeing. But then when they look at the majority of us, they don't see what he's talking about. So we're not being aiders to him. So that's why I felt, listening to Minister's words of him asking, really giving an instruction for us to go through this course of study. If we do so, then we would be pushing power. That's what I felt, that we would be then pushing power by being, it would strengthen us and make us better examples of that which he is teaching.
Mhm.
And we would be more effective in the world and influence more people to
Mhm.
come and do the same and add power to power.
Mhm.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, absolutely correct. It's like we're talking about the light, but we're not being the light. And our light is a bear witness to the light. As you were speaking, what comes to mind is when you mentioned Ohm's law, when you look at just a basic formula, and I'm going to explain it in the minister's words. But in Ohm's law, your current that flows through the wire is equal to the voltage divided by the resistance. The voltage pushes the current through the wire. The resistance works against the current. Does that make sense? When you have a battery that provides the voltage, that's pushing the current through your wires. But your
Yes, sir.
resistance, okay? Now, if you look at the words of the minister, take the minister's words. Remember, we're taught that scientists speak in the language of formulae. So let's look at the minister's words as a formula. So he says, desire feeds the will, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, desire feeds the will. But then he also said in everything, there's a difficulty factor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you take the minister's words and you plug them into Ohm's law, that means our desire will feed the will. So our willpower is our desire divided by our difficulty factor, which means as our difficulty factors increase, what happens to our will? Our will decreases, correct? What was that?
That was a laughter of agreement.
As the difficulty factor increases, it's indirectly proportional to our will. So now, if Allah allows the difficulty factor, if the difficulty factor increases and Allah is allowing the difficulty factor to increase, is he doing so because he's trying to diminish our will, or does he want to increase our desire to accomplish the goal? In other words, my humble opinion, Allah doesn't allow difficulties to come into the life of the believers, except he wants the believer to shine more brighter. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir, because a lot of the time, the difficulty, well, it's a test because the difficulty can either cause you to give up, or what Allah wants to see is actually to make you more determined.
Go ahead.
To strive for the goal.
Do men think that they will be left alone on saying they believe and what?
Not be tried.
Not be tried. And the minister said it like this. He says, if Allah is the best knower, then he should already know what is in the heart before he tries you. So if Allah already knows, then why do we go through the trial? He says, the Allah in us doesn't know. See, a lot of us can be, unfortunately, we can lip profess and speak about the light. But after you've gone through a severe trial and you've been able to survive by Allah's grace, then you actually know that the light exists, correct?
Right.
Okay. So sometimes we got to go through the trial so that we can know who we are. Because sometimes the trial will show to us that we're not what we think we are. Okay. So in other words, difficulties, the Bible says all things work for good for those who love the Lord. If we take the right mindset, Allah says it in the Holy Quran like this: that He uses the trials. I think he says He uses the fire, but I can't remember off the top of my head. He uses the fire to destroy the disbelievers, but He uses the same fire to purify the believers.
Right.
So if we think we're being destroyed, then that might show that we have the wrong mindset. But the fire will purify us. We just have to realize that one is in the oven with us, like the Son of Man who's keeping the fires cool, you know. But we have to change our viewpoint on trials and realize that the trials are being made to make us stronger. We have to go through it. Have to go through it. Sister Patricia, and then we will land this.
Yes, sir. I wanted to ask Brother Remy about his training. You mentioned that you were a class 4 auditor, and I was on staff at the church for a while. I'm a gold seal auditor, and they were supposed to send me to Flag to become a class 5 auditor, but it didn't work out that way and I left. But you mentioned that you repeated your training, is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So the minister, being guided by Allah, introduced us to Scientology, and at the proper time, he said he heard about it. There was a student minister in the 70s, and I believe he met Brother Alfredi or years ago. But it was during the time where the church was finalizing a process to cleanse the technology from different tamperings that I have done, people who were well-intentioned, people who thought they knew better, and people who were ill-intentioned. You know, so they were towards the end of that process. And it's such a blessing, because had we been introduced maybe 5 years beforehand, there would have been much more difficulties in us trying to assimilate the auditor course that we were doing. It would have been very, very difficult. So in 2013, in June of 2013, that was the culmination of that project, as far as the right side, or excuse me, the left side of the bridge. So that was the culmination of technology for auditor training and other positions that are quote unquote technical. They call it technical positions. So that was finalized in like November of 2013. So in June, they started a project. So they had those who were on staff come to Flag to do their training again, to be trained on the technology now that it has been cleaned up. Very similar to the supreme wisdom that we have that circulates on the internet is not correct. And the minister and Mother Tynetta, and I believe some others as well, they went over original structures given to the laborers, Muhammad's Temple number 1 and lesson number 1, and that was reissued. You know, very similar to that. They did that with the technical side of the church's knowledge. What is about to happen in the next coming months is the same process was done for the administrative knowledge that the church has. So anytime they go through a process of executing one of L. Ron Hubbard's main instructions, like a very large scale instruction, is being referred to as a golden age. Like we're in a new point in time, you know. So the golden age of technology, phase 2, culminated in November 2013. So I finished my internship in February of 2013, right before Savior's Day. And I met the minister, Alfredi introduced me, Brother Reverend Alfredi introduced me to the minister on that Monday. And then I get a phone call, you know, and the rest is history to go back.
Yes, sir. So I became an auditor in 2010. I was a laborer when the minister introduced it to the nation. So would you recommend that I redo my auditor training? Because it was 2010.
Oh, no. So, yeah, that's a very good question. So in 2009, the intro services was purified. So by the time the minister introduced the laborers in 2010, that phase was handled. That's part of, to my point, that phase was handled. So the Dianetics book was restored. All of what they refer to as the basic books, those basic books were restored. The Dianetics book was restored and cleaned up. The lectures on the course, there was a small lectures called lectures and demonstrations. And there was a big binder. There was like this big binder,
Yes.
right, with the volcano on it.
Yes.
That was recently found.
Hmm.
Prior to 2009, that was not part of the HDA auditor training.
Wow.
And those lectures are vital for HDA auditors.
Mm-hmm.
It's vital to be able to handle a lock and engram. So
Yes, sir.
a last timing is the best,
Yes, sir.
you know? So yeah, so no, you wouldn't have to redo it. You're doing the sanitized, the pristine version, the correct version of HDA. All of us did that.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Patricia. Brother Remy, what advice would you give any of the believers that are considering the process of going clear with respect to the processing side or the training side? What advice could you share on how to make that happen for 2024, if possible? And
So
I'm
what
kind of
advice?
asking that for myself because I just started my SRD. But
Okay.
for all the believers that are here, what would you recommend as far as how to start that process and how to complete it?
Wonderful. Congrats on starting your SRD.
Yes, sir.
You know, and one of the things that I learned in Scientology culture is that people congratulate people on finishing and starting because they know that they understand the amount of managing that goes into arranging your life to actually get on course, to actually study. Like we even say in the nation, thank you for coming out to your believers meeting, your FOI class, your MGT class, because we know that you have to manage things to actually get there. So everybody's situation is different. There's a lock, you know, there's a key for every lock. But a general advice would be I would get with a person who's called a reg. The full title is a registrar. A registrar is somebody that enlightens you and helps you, who enlightens you and handles the payment, you know, for your next service. They make sure that you're on the right service and explain to you your steps. I would start developing a relationship with a registrar, right? And when you develop that relationship with the registrar, have a conversation about what you want out of life. You know, what is your intention on? Your mind goes to something. Every one of you on the call, if I said, what is stressing you out? There's something that comes to mind. What's something that you want to get done by the end of the month? Some things come to mind. So start having that conversation on what's important to you. What do you want to get out of life? Then you start taking steps. You start taking baby steps towards that direction. For example, when I wanted to pay for services, I started off, sending in possibly like $5 a week, just doing that consistently. You know, I call it, punching the devil in the face. Every time I pay charity, right? Every time I make a contribution to something that is more spiritual than it is physical, I give charity donation to the mosque and number 2 poor. I always call that punching the devil in the face, right? So I do that every week and to keep moving towards my goal. And so I had a custom plan that was for me. For example, one of the biggest things that I learned from the church was the communication courses and learning how to sell, which allowed me to generate more income to be able to handle the other things that the bridge cost and other costs that I wanted to take on in life. So to recap, build a relationship with someone called a registrar and start going over what you want out of life, and so they can create a plan that amplifies you your family, your nation, and your God.
Praise be to Allah. Thank you, Brother Remy. Any final thoughts, statements, comments, believers? Going once, going twice. Praise be to Allah. Well, thank you, family, for taking time out of your schedule on a Wednesday morning to sit almost 2.5 hours. Brother Remy, thank you for on such short notice, sacrificing your time to shed some light on a lot of the data with the believers. We pray this is not the last time you will be with us to enlighten us on the tech. Does anyone
No,
have?
sir. Inshallah, no, sir.
So I'll make sure I put you on the mailing list to keep you informed when we have our meetings. Does anyone have any suggestions for any upcoming Zoom meetings that they would like to see presented? Hopefully in the near future, we will have one comparing the tech with the laws of the ways of ascent from the Holy Quran. And then I'm striving to keep on the reading assignment the way Mother Tainetta would do it, reading the Holy Quran once a week. I haven't gotten there yet, but in striving to do so, I've come across some things with the help of Allah that kind of show the minister is taking the information from the Holy Quran, but looking at it in present perfect time and seeing the relationship of the believers with the tech with regards to the minister. So hopefully that'll be part of a PowerPoint in the near future. Does anyone else have any other thoughts or suggestions about future topics? All right. That being said and done, again, thank you, family. And let us go ahead and close it out in prayer. Attention prayer. I seek refuge in Allah from the accursed Satan. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, all praise is due to Allah, Lord of the worlds, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, Master of the day of judgment in which we now live. Thee alone do we serve, thine aid do we seek. Please, Allah, guide us on the straight path, the path upon whom thou hast bestowed favors, not the path upon whom thy wrath is brought down, nor of those who go astray if they have heard thy teachings. Ameen.
Amen.
Assalamu alaikum, family. Thank you for your attention and your words. I pray Allah to see you again on Sunday, the 21st.
Oh my
The 21st.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Thank you.
sir. Thank
Um,
you. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
I like him.